Are you noticing something strange? Your smartest friends are becoming quiet. Brilliant colleagues are stepping back. High achievers are disappearing from social circles. Not loudly, not dramatically, just fading out. They still smile, still function, but their light feels distant, dimmed, almost unreachable, and the world doesn't seem to notice. In fact, the world seems relieved, because society doesn't know what to do with minds that burn too brightly, minds that question, that feel too deeply, that don't just fit in but ask why they should. So instead of celebrating these souls, we exhaust them. We overload them with expectations, demand their excellence but dismiss their emotions, praise their performance but punish their sensitivity, until one day they vanish, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They stop trying to explain themselves, stop trying to be understood, and begin to walk a quieter path, alone. But why? Why do the brightest minds slowly pull away? The answer isn't simple, because the wound isn't new. It started early, long before work, long before adulthood, sometimes even before memory. You were taught to be quiet, to not shine too brightly, to not ask too many questions, to not be too much. Maybe it wasn't said with words. Maybe it came in glances, or in how your parents reacted when you showed too much joy, too much anger, too much of you. So you learn to dim yourself, to survive, to belong. But what begins as survival becomes identity, and what once protected you begins to suffocate you, until the mind splits, one part striving to meet the world's demands, the other quietly wondering, is this all there is? You play the roles, you meet the standards, you smile on cue, but inside, you're disappearing. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because you're awake. You see through the games, the shallow conversations, the performative friendships, the emptiness behind what everyone calls success. And it hurts, because no one told you awakening would feel like grieving. Grieving the person you had to become. Grieving the love that was conditional. Grieving a world that never really saw you, just your utility. So you retreat, not out of bitterness, but necessity. Not because you hate the world, but because you need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You start saying no. You cancel plans. You spend more time in silence. More time with books, with nature, with your own thoughts. And people notice. They call you distant, cold, arrogant. But they don't see the war inside. They don't see the years you spent trying to belong, trying to please, trying to be good enough. They don't see the tears behind your quiet, the strength it takes to unlearn everything that once made you feel safe. But I see you. I see the ghost you've become. Not dead, but no longer fully here, hovering between who you were and who you're becoming. And maybe no one has told you this, but that space in between, that void, that silence, it's sacred. It means you're healing. It means the spell is breaking, the spell of performance, of perfection, of proving. You're learning to exist without justification, to be without needing to impress, to breathe without shrinking. And yes, it's lonely, terrifying even, but also honest. Because in that silence you meet yourself, not the self shaped by expectations, but the one that existed before the world got loud, the quiet observer, the deep feeler, the unfiltered truth. And the more you meet that self, the less you tolerate anything less than real. Fake friends fall away, shallow goals lose meaning, noise becomes unbearable, and in its place, you begin to crave something softer, gentler, truer. Not a crowd, but a connection. Not applause, but understanding. Not attention, but peace. You realize you don't want to be admired. You want to be known. And so your brightness returns. Not as a performance, but as a presence. You still speak, but only when it matters. You still give, but not from emptiness. You still care, but with boundaries. You're no longer trying to fit in. You're trying to come home to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real reason society's brightest minds disappear. Not because they're lost, but because they're finally ready to be found by something deeper. You're not broken. You're awakening. You're not distant. You're discerning. You're not gone. You're simply walking where others have not dared to look. And that path? It leads to peace. If this spoke to you, speak back. Leave a comment. Tell your story. Let others know they're not alone in this quiet awakening. And if your heart feels a little less heavy after hearing this, subscribe. We have more to explore together in the darkness.